All right, so Cheryl, I turn it over to you. It is all yours. Thank you.
Wonderful. And you can see my screen okay?
Correct.
Okay. I'm new to presenting on Teams, so this is exciting because it's something different. Can you see yourself, Jonathan?
I see myself in like a top box in the top.
Okay. I'll move you off screen so you don't have to keep looking at yourself. Well, thank you everybody for being here today and for the introduction. And I just want to start off by asking, like, how are you feeling right now? What are some of your big kind of sticking points? Do you feel like this guy? Because I feel like this guy. Like, how are you guys feeling? How are you doing when it comes to marketing and communication? So put it in the chat or just pop on and tell me what's going on. And don't be shy. And Jonathan, you might have to read the chat because I don't have it up on screen anymore. So I just want to see where the audience is.
We've got someone says dizzy. I shared a chat or a GIF of a girl being drugged by a merry-go-round. It's kind of our go-to.
Yeah. To chime in here, I mean, just like the Jonathan GIF, right? It's tough right now, and of course, in our it's a little bit different because we're undergoing a transition in structure and organization, and so that's an added layer of just like how crazy things are right now. But of course, pandemic supercharged all of that.
Yeah.
2 years.
And I feel for all of you. I worked on a college campus for 14 years as the Director of Government Relations, Marketing and Communications at a college here in San Diego. And I regularly felt like I was drowning, and that even wasn't during a pandemic. And so much has changed so fast. And on top of it, we've had some major marketing changes this year that are going to be a big impact to address marketing going forward, particularly digital marketing. And so that's why, I'm here today, is to give you about 45 minutes, educate you on what's changed, what's coming up, what are some good strategies and tactics you can do so that you can go into the new year kind of with your eyes open. And I love this quote: no one can hit their target with their eyes closed. Because if you don't know what's happening and you're not able to keep up with the changes, you're not going to be able to hit the mark with your marketing. But truth be told, it's really difficult to keep up right now. Things are changing so fast and you have so much responsibility on your plates that it's difficult for you, to read publications and to keep up with everything that's happening. And so that was my goal of putting this presentation together, was to give you some tricks and tips of what to do and how to move forward in the next year. So what should you be focusing on? So I want to get down to business today and really give you some good things to take away and to learn and to implement right away. So this presentation is going to really examine what's changed in 2021 and what could potentially change next year, and some big changes that are coming in 2023 in terms of digital marketing, and then give you some trends and strategies that I think are worth following, because there's so much out there for you to think about and look at, but what really should you be paying attention to that's going to be the best bang for your buck and for your time, and then recommend those priorities for you to implement in your marketing in the new year. So there's a couple big changes I want to start with, and some things that Jonathan specifically was interested in having you all learn about. And the first was Apple's new privacy feature. So I'm sure most of you have heard about this and have seen it firsthand, but basically Apple decided to make tracking more transparent, and it forced developers to give users a choice. Once you update your device to iOS 14.5, every single company that wants to track users and their data across different apps and websites have to ask permission first. And they've created this standardized prompt, and I'm sure you've seen it. And I don't know how many of you have pushed the allow button. I'd be curious to know if you want to put in the chat, do you allow apps to track you now that you're being asked, or are you asking them not to track you? Me as a digital marketer myself, I do hit allow more often than not, but I am definitely in the minority. So what does it mean for people to ask apps not to track? What exactly does this mean for everybody? Well, it kind of means a lot or a little, depending on who you ask. Really, the biggest impact has been to Facebook and to performance marketers in particular who want to see what you're clicking on and then retarget you based on what you're looking at on their site. So they're not able to retarget as effectively from app interactions, but that also means, well, neither can you. So if somebody is opt out of having Facebook track their data, if they click on your ad, you're not going to be able to retarget from within Facebook because that's no longer trackable. But there are some things, ways to get around that Facebook's figured out and that marketers have figured out. So that's why it's kind of depending on who you ask, it's either made a big impact or not so much. Really, I think where you're going to see the biggest impact is that we've got some delayed reporting for conversions and you have some smaller retargeting options. But I don't think most of you are doing the level of sophisticated marketing where you really need to have this level of tracking going on. And remember, Facebook already has data on 3.5 billion people, so they may not be able to track anymore, like where everybody's clicking and what they're doing, but they already know their users' age, their interests, their likes, what pages they belong to, and that data is not going anywhere, and it's being used by marketers. And there's more. I mean, not only do they already have data, but there's a lot behind the scenes going on with Apple. So it only impacts Apple users, right? It doesn't impact anybody on their Android phone. It doesn't impact direct retargeting options from your website. So if you're running a retargeting campaign from your website where somebody visits your site, you can still send them advertisements on social media. You can still send them advertisements in apps. So it's not really limiting you that much. And there's still so many targeting options available. And we'll talk about some of those in a couple minutes. So I think when this first came out, people were like, oh my God, it's the death of digital marketing. And it hasn't really made the type of impact that was projected. I think what will make a big impact is what's coming in 2023. And that's a world without cookies, which sounds sad, like no cookies, but cookies are what track us as we go around the internet. And Firefox and Safari have already banned cookies. Google was going to ban them this year, and people flipped out because most website traffic goes through Google, goes through Chrome, and marketers were not ready. And so they really pushed back. And so Google says, we are going to block cookies, but we're going to give you to 2023 to figure out exactly what that means. So right now, you'll see this, accepting cookies or changing your settings, but pretty sure this is not going to be an option. They're not going to be collecting that type of information to give you more privacy as you surf around the internet. So what does this mean? What change does this, how is this going to impact you? Well, like I said, Chrome is the dominant web browser. About 60% of web traffic in the United States comes through Chrome. So its stance on blocking cookies is going to be major. It's going to have a huge impact on marketing and advertising. Really, where it's going to have the biggest impact is behavioral retargeting. And behavioral retargeting was always kind of messy anyways, and I'll talk about why that is in a minute. And you're also not going to get the level of kind of data that you currently get in analytics. So, you might be able to see now where somebody comes from, if they're a female or a male, if they're using a phone or they're using their computer to get to your website. So that level of data may not be available in 2023 when cookies are blocked. So what should you do? So we're not going to be able to behavioral retarget. And by behavioral retargeting, right now, if I'm surfing the internet and I go to a bunch of different university or college websites, Google puts me into a higher education category. And now for display advertising and even on social, I can purchase to to send my ads to those people who are within that category. So their online behavior has indicated that they're interested in higher education. Same thing with like cars. If you've noticed, you start shopping for Toyota, and pretty soon you're seeing advertisements for Ford. Well, that's because you're in an automotive category because you've done some online browsing that shows Google you are interested in purchasing a vehicle. That will stop because they're not going to be tracking behavior online anymore. So if you're doing behavioral retargeting, which I'm assuming a lot of you are because it's a pretty standard way to book digital marketing, in 2023, that's not going to be something you can do anymore. So the next best option is to go back to what was really popular about 5 years ago, and which I think is a wonderful way to target, and that's anything around keyword or keyword contextual based advertising. So I have this really cool video. This is made by a digital marketing firm that I know nothing about. So it's not an advertisement for them. I just think that they did a really good job explaining what keyword and keyword contextual based advertising is. So I'm going to play this for you, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Teams sound will come through. And Jonathan, if it doesn't, just pop back on my screen and let me know.
Will do.
If you're a digital marketer, you got to try SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb is a platform. Search retargeting allows advertisers to target potential customers based on their searches conducted in website search bars. Using a predetermined set of keywords, this tactic reaches users who have demonstrated intent for a particular product or service. Search retargeting should not be confused with search engine marketing, or SEM, which includes paid ad results within a search engine like Google, Yahoo, or Bing. Instead, search retargeting relies on premium data partners that consolidate search bar data from individual websites from across the internet. This data can be leveraged to retarget interested users elsewhere as they browse the web. Here's an example. A Toyota dealership in Albany, New York wants to target those who have recently searched for used Corollas in websites such as cars.com, carmax.com, and autotrader.com. Data partners continually collect data on those who are searching for keywords such as Corollas, or used Toyotas in car-related websites. Using this data, the Toyota dealership runs a retargeting ad campaign for its used Corolla inventory. This way, the Toyota dealership knows it is targeting an audience that has shown a previous purchase intent for their products. When a prospect sees a retargeting ad, there's a 70% chance that they'll purchase your product over your competitors. Search retargeting can be applied to display campaigns and is relevant to practically every industry. Search retargeting can be a beneficial addition to your advertising efforts, and our qualified team of digital specialists can help every step of the way. Nexstar Digital. National scale.
So like I said, I don't know who Nexstar Digital is, but I thought this was a great, simple way to explain what keyword retargeting is. So for higher education,
Cheryl,
yeah.
Sorry, Cheryl, I don't want to cut off too quickly, but there's a question in the chat. If you could share the link to that video, so after the fact,
sure.
That'd be great.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that the video was great. They did a good job explaining it. So for higher ed, I think that, you should be thinking about booking keyword retargeting. Somebody's searching for community college degree, community college near me, or maybe they're looking for training for a new job, or even searching for four-year colleges. You can book ads based on those searches. You already know they're interested in higher ed, and you don't need to be tracking their online behavior to tell you that. So a great way to book things. And we book these type of ads all the time, and they do fantastic. So what other tactical changes should you make? This is Atlantis. I don't know if anybody has gone to it in the Bahamas. We were thinking about taking our kids there. They have a week break in February, but we've actually decided against it because over Thanksgiving they fought so much. And I was like, I'm not spending like $8,000 on a vacation to listen to you two fight the whole way. So we're not going. I pulled the plug. But I'd been researching Atlantis. I'd gone to their website. I had gotten a quote for rooms, and I started getting retargeted. Not a big deal, right? Good places are going to retarget, and I got retargeted in Facebook and Instagram. But what really stood out to me was that I got retargeted with fantastic content. So what I started seeing was the top 10 things to do at the Atlantis Resort. I saw an ad that shared users like top 5 favorite restaurants, because there's like 40 restaurants on this property. So all of a sudden the ads were content. It wasn't just telling me to book my trip to Atlantis. It was telling me about the experience I would have once I got there. And I didn't even realize for a while that I was reading ads because the content was so good. And so everybody should start thinking about, what does content look like? Student visits your website, a potential student, instead of just retargeting them on social media with an ad telling them to enroll, maybe retarget them with a quick video on your student's top tips to succeed, or an animated video on how to fill out the application. So consumers are getting tired of ads. Like, digital marketing's been around now for 20 years. And they don't always just want ads. They want content, and they want things that are accurate, informative, simple, entertaining, and interactive. So if you want to see Atlantis's retargeting in action, just literally visit their website and you will start seeing it in your Facebook feed. Other things are going to become more important. First-party data is going to become super important. It already is important. And this is a quote from David Temkin, who's Google's director of product management for ad privacy and trust, which is cool. They have that position. And he wrote in an article, "We will continue to support first-party relationships on our ad platforms for partners, in which they have direct connections with their own customers, and will deepen our support for solutions that build on these direct relationships between consumers and the brands and publishers they engage with." So what does that mean? What does first-party data mean? Well, it means people-based marketing. You already know who your customers are, and you can book ads based on personal email addresses and cell phone information data. So you should be identifying your customer and then using your own data. You have lists of students who have applied to your college and not enrolled. You have their cell phones, you have their personal email addresses. You can use both of those things to do targeted geofence display ads, to do social media ads, to do YouTube ads. So Google is saying, hey, if you've got this first party data, we're going to support you in using it so you can start sending digital ads directly to your consumers without having to collect their information online. You have students who have started your program but have stopped out. Data on them. You can do degree audits if you have a sophisticated system. Maybe students who have completed 60% of a program, maybe you want to do a specific campaign encouraging them to come back and complete. You can have website submission forms where people are filling out interest. And you can even use cell phones. So, run a list of everybody that's called your college and pipe that list into a display ad campaign. As long as you have 1,000 phone numbers, you'll be able to run a campaign based on that list. This little screenshot on the right is something we're doing for a college in California, their Saddleback College. We have a pop-up poll on their website that's triggered by a UTM string. So a UTM string is what you put on the end of your website to track where traffic comes from. So if the traffic comes from one of our ads, people get this poll question, and it's saying, answer our poll and enroll in a class, and you'll be entered to win $250. So we, as a marketing firm, are giving away 4 $250 scholarships. And in 1 month, we got 400 people fill out this form. So the college now has 400 warm leads that they're calling and emailing to try to get them through the registration process. So can you be creative in collecting leads rather than just sticking a lead generation form? You can. You can do lead generation on Facebook. You can give away scholarships. It's amazing what people will do for a $100 gift card. They'll give you all sorts of information at the chance to win something. And just a random discovery, as I was putting this presentation together, I realized that internet cookies are now 25 years old, right? And so they've gotten stale, and we need to fix that and fix the way we market to not be so reliant on information that's collected by people's behavior. Okay, next change. I love email marketing. We sent out for college, we are doing some marketing for their medical assistant program. And what I asked the faculty, we're working directly with the faculty member and a dean, and what I asked them to do is there's 4 introductory classes that you have to complete your first semester to become an MAP student. And I asked them over the last 3 years to pull any student who had completed at least one of those 4 introductory classes, but had not gone on to earn an MAP certificate. So they gave me 3,500 names, like 3,500 names of students who are already on the path to getting an MAP certificate, but who have dropped out. So we sent them an email and we said, hey, you've already taken an introductory class. Like, you can come back and take other courses and be on the path to a really great career. It had a 51% open rate. We're seeing emails in 30%, 40%, 50% open rate if your content is really specific to the user. So I love email marketing. People say all the time, email marketing's dead. It's not dead, it works. But it's going to start working a little bit less effectively, or I should really say Apple's made changes that are going to make it harder for you to evaluate how your email marketing is working. And this is another great video. This is from HubSpot. So I'll send the link to this as well. This guy is fantastic. And he explains exactly what this new iOS update from Apple is going to do to email marketing and gives some tips on how to get around it.
Coming to the world of digital marketing.
Okay, I'm going to start over.
How do I say goodbye to email marketing? You were so young. With the upcoming fall release of iOS 15, Apple's latest update for the iPhone, a literal mic drop may be coming to the world of digital marketing in the form of some new privacy updates. These privacy features are great for the consumer, but not so much for email marketing campaigns. So roll the footage.
If you're like me, you get a lot of marketing emails like this. What you may not realize is that many of these emails use invisible pixels to collect information about your mail activity. We think you should be able to choose whether to allow this or not. So now in the Mail app, we're introducing Mail Privacy Protection.
It hides your IP address, location, and prevents senders from seeing when and if you've opened their email. It's the holy grail of user privacy. But for marketers, it'll hide your open rates and take away your ability to accurately target emails. To be blunt here, if you're watching this video right now and you're using segmentations that rely on open rate data or location-based data, it just may not work anymore. Think of it as a mailman with a bag full of mail to deliver, but all the building numbers have been blacked out. We're talking send time optimization, subject line testing, and real-time personalization all go bye-bye with the swipe of an opt-in button. With control of 47% of total email clients in 2021, it's pretty safe to assume that Apple's Mail Privacy Protection opt-in feature could lead to an impact of nearly 50% of email marketing's audience. This is like the Thanos snap of digital marketing. This is following the trend that started with Apple's iOS 14.5 update that notoriously gave users the option to either opt in or opt out of sharing their information with advertisers for targeted ads. When given that option, 96% of them opted out. Privacy is no longer a passing trend. This is the now and the future. But it's almost as if my name were Tory McFly, because when it comes to the future in email marketing, where we're going, we don't need email marketing. Sometimes in order to go forward, you got to go back. No, not that far back. Thank you. There we go. That's right, text messaging. Oh, come on. Hold on. The idea is super simple. Take a tool that 3.8 billion people currently carry around in their pockets, send a message to some of the 48 million people who in 2020 chose to receive text message marketing, and then just sit back and take pleasure in knowing that SMS has a 98% open rate when compared to email marketing. The message you send out could be an automated text that's triggered by a customer action. Or it could be part of a mass text that you send to a group of customers who opted in to receive regular text from your business. Go ahead, click the link after the video and find out how easy it is. You can thank me later. Another thing you can do is really double down on checking your website traffic. Tell them, Pamela.
With software like HubSpot or the use of tracking codes, you can determine how much traffic came to your website from one single email, or which pieces of content sent the most visitors to your website. Ultimately, if you're trying to build your audience, get people to make purchases, or aiming to increase offer downloads, you'll need to send people to your website. Good email traffic hints that you're successfully getting visitors where they need to go on your website.
As always, that is the info. Do with it what you will. Until next time, adios.
Okay, he made like email marketing really fun. So I really loved his video. So a couple big takeaways from it is, remember, this is really impacting just the information that you're going to collect. It's not impacting the effectiveness. It might start looking like your emails are less effective and your open rates aren't going to be as reliable as they once were, but it still works. Email still works. And Android and all the other email platforms still track this data. So you're still going to be able to collect data from Android and from desktop. But just know that if you're doing like A/B testing, that's going to be pretty unreliable. And for those of you who maybe regularly do email and you remove those unopens from your lists, you might not want to remove unopens anymore because you don't know. They may have opened it and you just don't know. So that is something you want to probably keep in, which makes your list less hygienic, but protects you from removing someone who might be interested. So just continue to follow best practices for deliverability. Like I said, do email for targeted audiences, set up your URL strings well, so if somebody does click on something in your email, you can tell in Google Analytics that that click came from an email, and you can analyze where people are coming from. So maybe you don't see it in Constant Contact, but you're going to see it in Analytics. And yes, text messaging does really have that high of an open rate. When we do text for colleges that aren't able to do it on their own, we used a pay bit.ly URLs to track link clicks from text, and we're seeing like 30 to 40% open rates on just basic email text telling people to check out the class schedule. So really effective way to do text messaging and to track to see if it actually works. Okay, a couple more things. Other trends and changes. Clearly, the trend is towards privacy. That is going to continue, and you really need to step up your use of first-party data. But there's other things that have happened too. We used to be able to do really complicated targeting to audiences under 18 years of age in Facebook and Instagram. But just this summer, there are new regulations that were put on the social media giants that have made it impossible to do really targeted campaigns to under 18. You can still target as young as 13, but you just have to do it a little bit differently. They also removed targeting by ethnicity as well. So you can target by language, but you can no longer target by someone's ethnic background. So if you want to continue to reach young people, you can create ad sets that only target by age, gender, or location. You can't do it by interest. You can't do it by behavior. It can only be by age. YouTube followed suit, and so they're now only allowing targeting for 18 and plus, so you can't even target on YouTube for a younger population. But Snapchat's changed their audience from moms with teens to parents of teens, which is now broader, so we can target dads now, and also people who may not have information on their gender. So this means that you're going to be paying a little bit less for those ads, and it's a great place to target parents and teens. And TikTok, you can still target as young as 13. So there are some options on there, but they're changing, and I expect this will continue to change because there's been so many reports lately about the impact social media is making on teenagers, negative impact, and I think that legislators want to see advertisers not take advantage of the youth, and unfortunately, that impacts education marketing, even though, we have a fantastic message to send. If you're not on TikTok, this is another thing 3 years ago where I had colleges ask, should I be on TikTok? I was like, no, don't be on TikTok. And now it's like, are you on TikTok? You need to be on it. And you can book TikTok advertising without having a TikTok channel. So if you haven't figured out like your organic TikTok yet, you can still book ads on it. It's the same size as booking something on Instagram Reels or Facebook Stories. So it's not very difficult to make an ad and just book it on TikTok. It's going to be the fastest growing app of all time. It's surpassing 1.5 billion users next year. So definitely somewhere you want to be. You're going to continue to see rates go up. So for your budget, just anticipate that you're going to pay more. I have a typo there. It should be CPM. Your cost per thousand grew 41% year on year in Q2 of 2021, with the average being $6.37 for digital advertising. And some platforms are even higher. And when you get into really complicated targeting options, your CPM can be like in the $20 to $40 range. So just got to pay more. But we're paying more for everything right now. I don't know about you in Texas, but gas prices out here in California, they're up to $5 a gallon in San Diego. So we're paying more for everything. And you're going to pay more for marketing. Just something interesting, 1 in 4 online purchases are made via interaction with the social media platform. I feel like I'm responsible for probably 50% of those. So I lay in bed at night and end up getting sucked into ads and order all sorts of things I don't need. But people are ordering stuff and making transactions on social media. Just something to keep in mind, that people are interested in learning more about your products and your services on social media platforms. And millennials, the youngest of which are 25, which is crazy. They're using social media less than they used to. So just another thing to keep in mind, that people are actively trying to get off social media. It's still the biggest bang for your buck out there, but we might see its use decrease, and you might need to start getting creative in other ways of reaching people. Short form video is still doing the best. It should be a priority. It does not have to be something you pay, 15 grand for. Or you can use Canva and other easy editing tools to make great videos. People like to watch them. Micro influencers are great. They're effective if you can find good ones. And audio content continues to grow in popularity. You can now book ads, local ads in podcasts on Spotify. So something to explore. Maybe if you're in a larger metro area like Houston or Dallas, that might be something that you want to talk to your media buyer about, because people listen to podcasts and they are just growing and growing and growing, and you can advertise on them. And then the last 2 things I've already touched on, but content is just put time into good content. And that content should focus on accountability and trustworthiness, because those things are really important to consumers always, but particularly right now. So I'm going to wrap up and then take some time for questions, but the future is complicated. When we started in digital marketing like 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of options. You could do search engine marketing. My college, when I worked at MiraCosta, we started a Facebook page. We had to start it as a person, not as a business. That's how long ago it started. Now it's so many options and so much complication, and it's just going to get more and more complicated. So, staying up to date, going to TACCM, doing these lunch and learns are really important so that you can make good decisions on how to best spend your marketing dollars. And just know that privacy concerns are going to continue. Platform regulations are going to increase. I mean, we've seen Facebook have to report to Congress. This is going to continue. And so you as marketers need to do some out-of-the-box thinking, like that poll at Saddleback. That was out of the box, something different. We came up with the college, and it's working. And it might not work next year. So you have to continually push the envelope and think of new, interesting ways to do things. You have to be agile, and you can't just rely on digital marketing. Some things still work well in certain areas, like billboards or buses might work well in your area. They may not work well in other areas, but you need to be agile depending on what's worked well for you. And then finally, content creation. So think about, how can you make things that people are interested in and not just rely on ads that are thrown together? So I'm an optimistic person. I believe that optimism is the best way to see life. So I think it's overwhelming and things are changing, but they're changing for a good reason. And I think it also gives us the opportunity to constantly evaluate what is working well and what we can do better. So rather than from me as a digital marketer and owner of my own company, rather than being like, oh my God, all my strategies don't work anymore, I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen in 2022 and to try new things and to be creative and innovative. So I hope you will feel that way too after this presentation. I want to leave you with a little glimmer of hope rather than piling a whole bunch of stuff on your plate to think about at the end of the year. So I'm happy to take questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you want to chat for a couple minutes before we conclude, take some questions now.
So sure, I'll just share something that came up in the chat while you're presenting. Lauren says, the struggle of marketing. I don't want to share my personal info or have social media, but I work every day to gather everyone else's info and social media follows and so forth.
I know. That's why I said I clicked that allow button. Because I'm like, if nobody's clicking the allow button, what's going to happen to marketers?
It's true.
But yeah, it's very true. It's very true. And that's why Google postponed getting rid of cookies until 2023, because the marketing industry really put their foot down and said, this is going to destroy us. You need to give us more time to figure out what's going to happen.
So thinking about the first person data, I think you mentioned email and phone number can be used with Google. Is that with Google search results? Like if we're doing Google search advertising, we can upload that information now?
So not for search. So search
Okay.
is really dependent upon what words they put in, what you're bidding on, but you can use it for display. You can use, what's really cool in display now is you can use a CPM. They call it or CRM list, even though some of you might not have CRMs, but that's what it's called in the platform. So you can do personal email, you can do cell phone, and you can even now geofence down to someone's home address. So it's really, if you've got those three things, you can do display ads to populations. YouTube, you can also do by cell phone and by personal email, and the same with social media. The hard part is for social media and YouTube, people have to sign up with accounts using either the phone number or email address. So you might have 20,000 emails, but you might only match up 12,000 accounts. So all those authentications, give us your cell phone so we can authenticate. Well, now that's another data point marketers can use to link up to potential customers.
Excellent, thank you.
And is anybody in here not using text messages? We've had colleges push back on text for marketing, and I'm wondering if anybody has experienced that in Texas too, for emergency. Anybody else? Anybody else using it? And how are you using it? You have a whole texting team, yeah. So Amanda, you should go back and stomp your feet and try to start using it.
I'm curious.
Yeah, we have Cheryl, and our legal keeps pushing back. If they're not our students, we can't market to them, and having the right system, I think, to be able to do that too. We're not that sophisticated.
Yeah. If somebody's given you their information, you can send them a text, but you have to have an option to stop. And so there are text platforms where someone just texts back stop and they get removed. That might help your legal. But
Yeah, Amanda, what we've been doing is, well, of course, with COVID, our legal finally said, hey, you can text everybody who's a current student, which is something that we haven't been able to do in the past. But we have our intake forms across the website, which it's tied to email automation as well, but we ask for the cell phone on there, and then that can also get sent to the texting team. And then we just advertise across the website as well. If you have a question, then text, Dallas College to whatever the phone number is, and then the texting team can start. You're engaging the texting team at that point. So that might be another option to kind of work with your legal department.
Yeah, we've been given the okay to do mission critical texts to our current students. It's those outside of who are not our current students. So yeah, I think it's all a matter of interpretation. And then again, having the platform, because when you say texting team, that's me. So having the platform and the resources to do that.
Yeah, definitely. It takes time.
Great. Well, if I had a limited budget and a limited staff, texting and email to your current lists and then using list-based marketing is really where I think I'd put most of my energy, because you're going to see the best return on that first person data, rather than spending, that money and resources trying to get new people. See who you've missed and who you haven't persuaded to come, and start there and then build off of that. And I think Luis, did you have a question or a comment earlier?
Yeah, it was just what the pushback was. You had mentioned that certain teams are having pushback and if it's a legal pushback, then that makes sense. But I didn't know if there was other reasoning out there as to why there's a pushback on texting for some schools.
Well, any other questions or comments?
Everybody's already dreaming of the holiday break.
That is fine, because so am I. So I will share my presentation. It has the links to the videos if you want to share those. You're welcome to email me if you have questions. I'm always here to help. And I love starting on time and ending early. So there's my holiday gift to all of you, is 12 minutes and you're back in your schedule.
Well, Cheryl, before you drop off, I just want to let everybody know, really appreciate Cheryl joining us today. She does this voluntarily, so she's coming and sharing this information with us. And so just to let you have a chance to give a little plug for kind of what you do, can you tell us a little bit more about Graduate Communications and what you do there with your new company?
Yeah, sure. So Graduate Communications, we're a higher ed marketing firm. So we do everything from digital marketing to research, academic program mapping. I just got off a call prior to joining you. We're redesigning an entire non-credit schedule for a really large institution. So we take all sorts of different projects and love all of our higher education clients. And we're working with the University of Houston. Clear Lake is our client in Texas right now. So our first Texas higher ed client. And that's a fun project where we're helping weave their brand pillars into their marketing. So we're doing some training and then doing some design and writing work. So if you ever want to chat, just go to graduatecommunications.com and I'm happy to talk more about the company.
Excellent. Thanks so much. And I'm going to put a link in the chat as well. For those of you that are attending, I'd love to get your feedback on this. Just let us know kind of what you thought. Also, if you have ideas for future sessions that you'd like to hear about, we got some good ideas last month as well, or in October. So we'll start scheduling some of those type of events. So really appreciate everybody joining. Hope that you have happy holidays, however you're celebrating. Enjoy your time off, and look forward to an amazing 2022. Hopefully with less emergencies and fires related to pandemics, but lots of opportunities to serve our students going forward. So thank you all so much for joining us.